Hello again, this is Crazy Canuck in Saskatchewan, Canada. This is the cat barrier I came up with. I know that if you have unlimited resources, you could probably build a really nice oak cabinet with glass doors and have all the lights and watering systems. But this channel is dedicated to surviving and thriving during a time when you're not going to have the resources possibly to do that. So I find what's available, what I have kicking around in the shop, something that's cheap, easy, and hopefully something that anybody could do anywhere, no matter what the circumstances. So basically what we've got here is a recycled mineral tub, some rebar that I had kicking around. I did have to buy the light, but you put your money where it's most needed and save where you can. So basically what I've done, I've put the chicken wire around, just wrapped it around. I've wrapped this end of it around this rebar. Now, to make it easy to access, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this rubber band, loop it through, take just a piece of wire, any kind of wire, and make a little hook on it on both sides. Hook it in one end of the rubber band, crimp it tight so it doesn't come out, and then you can just turn around and hook it anywhere you want on the other side of the wire. So I've decided I can do that on 3 different spots on here, and all you're doing is trying to keep it closed so the cats can't open it. So we'll just do another one here. And you could probably buy hooks to do this, but again, I'm cheap, so I'm only going to buy what I have to. And a lot of people don't have a lot of extra money to do all this with, so recycle, reuse. Of course, hardly anything I buy these days is actually used for what it's meant for. I get a lot of funny looks in stores when I go buy something and tell them what I'm using it for anyway. So one last little hook here. Clip that up, little hook, and that's it. Now when you want to have access to your stuff that's growing, you just undo them, open it up, do your harvesting, do whatever you have to do, and then just close it up again. Doesn't matter where you hook it as long as you got some tension on the rubber bands. Now of course, if you think your cats are a little bit smarter than the average cat and think they're going to jump in on the top here, you could also take a small piece of chicken wire and place it on the top so it doesn't disturb the light at all. Almost make a lid. Kind of like that, just a little bit bigger piece. And that would hopefully keep the cats from jumping in on the top. So that's it for that. We're going to let this thing grow and see what happens, and I will keep you updated. And I'm going to show you a little bit more about cheap container gardening. Here's some pictures from a few years back when we had some really wet years. This is my garlic that was flooded out. This was the second year it was flooded, and I ended up losing most of it, which is the main reason I started focusing on growing indoors, since you either have flood or you have drought or you have hail or short season. So some of the ideas that I came up with, you take plastic barrels, you cut them in half, you throw some soil in them, and there you see my cat bird guard over top. Here's inside the greenhouse. These were the barrels that I used for an aquaponic experiment. I just converted them to soil. These are some shallots that I had planted. Old nursery pots that you can find at garage sales or wherever. There's my peppers. Buckets from Dairy Queen or a restaurant or wherever you can find them. Sometimes you have to pay $1, sometimes you can get them for free. This is a cabbage that I was growing in a pail. And there's all kinds of ideas if you use your imagination. Here's a straw bale. The only time a straw bale ever worked for me. The carrots growing in the top. I had cucumber growing out the side, and that's a variety of flax that I'm bringing back. It was from the 1970s. In the greenhouse, it did equivalent to 1,000 bushels an acre growing in little 3-inch pots. So what can be done is just incredible. Here's an old variety of barley that I decided to grow in the greenhouse. I got 65 seeds from the gene bank and just put some in a pail, put it in a greenhouse just to multiply out the seed. Here's another example of what I did in the greenhouse one year. I put up a 1-foot barrier for soil, filled it up, and I had some grains planted, beans, and then on the top deck, that's only a 2x4 shelf, so it's about 3.5 inches of soil, and that's where I put cabbages on a second layer. I do something different every year in this greenhouse, and hardly ever do the same thing twice. But a little creativity, you never know what's going to happen. Here's some lettuce that I grew in a 2-liter milk container. Turned out quite well. Sometimes things can get a little out of control in the greenhouse. I have a tendency to overplant, and then things kind of get out of hand. There's an idea I came up with to use up some of those half barrels that I used for other experiments. That box it's sitting on is where I put the fish, all the goldfish in the summertime. So I put the half barrels on top, sitting on a pallet, fill them with soil, and plant and then water them out of the fish tank. I also use the fish water in the greenhouse for watering. And here's an example of using buckets filled with soil, and you can see on the front there's the 2-liter milk containers, and then what I've done there is built out of 2x4s and plywood a tray that I line with plastic, and I can flood that with like 3 inches of water, and that'll water everything for the whole day, which comes in handy if you're not able to be at home for extended periods of time. This method also creates a real problem when things get growing and it's overcrowded, which I really have a bad habit of doing. And if you live somewhere with trees, you can just grab a piece of firewood that's rotted out in the middle, throw some dirt in it, and start growing. There's another example with some dill and spinach, I believe. Just throw some dirt in a rotted out log. And if you like grow towers, you can make your own. Grab some pails, cut some holes in the side, heat them up, make little ports for your plants, and these can be stacked on top of each other. There's an example of them in a stacked position. So you have to just water in the top and it'll all go down through the bottom. So this is a great way to just use what's lying around, cheap and easy, and you can grow whatever you need to grow on a budget. So I hope that you've found this interesting, and I'll keep them coming as long as everybody's interested. And that's it for now. Like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll talk to you soon.